Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to tackle a fundamental nursing skill that, let's be honest, can feel a little tricky at first, percussion. But stick with me because by the end of this, you are going to be tapping with confidence and, more importantly, with purpose right at the bedside. So, let me ask you something. Picture this. You're with a patient, you've got a gut feeling something's not right with their lungs, but you can't just order a chest x-ray on the spot. What if I told you that you have a powerful diagnostic tool literally at your fingertips? Seriously? That's the power of percussion. It's a low-tech skill that has an incredibly high impact on your assessment.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to cover the why, treating percussion like a real clinical detective skill. Then we'll dive into the how, mastering the technique itself. After that, we'll learn how to listen to what the body's telling us, and we'll wrap up with some pro tips to help you avoid those common mistakes.
Okay, let's jump right into that why. Percussion is so much more than just random tapping. It is a crucial piece of the diagnostic puzzle that you can use anywhere, anytime, to get some really valuable insights into your patient's condition. I want you to think of it like this. With your fingertips, you're creating a tiny little vibration. Those sound waves travel down through the body and then they bounce back. And when they do, they carry information about what they just ran into. Was it an air-filled lung, a fluid-filled space, maybe a solid organ? Your ears are the tool. And you're the clinical detective decoding the signals.
Okay, so we get the why now. Let's really nail down the what. What exactly is percussion and where does it fit in when you're doing your comprehensive head-to-toe assessment?
At its core, percussion is your hands-on way to figure out what's happening just beneath the skin. Are you worried a patient's liver might be enlarged? Well, percussion can actually help you map out its borders. Concerned about fluid in the lungs? The sound will change. It's a fundamental skill that gives you real-time, actionable information. And look, this isn't some optional add-on skill. As you can see, it's one of the 4 pillars of physical assessment. You've got inspection, palpation, percussion, and auscultation. They're a team. They all work together to give you the most complete picture of your patient's health. You wouldn't skip a step in the nursing process, right? So you shouldn't skip a pillar of your assessment either. All right. Enough theory, let's get practical. This is where we build some muscle memory. I actually want you to follow along with me. Go ahead, find a solid surface, your desk, your leg, whatever works, and let's practice the mechanics of this together. Okay, this slide breaks it down perfectly. I want you to remember this little phrase. Firm base, snappy tap. Your non-dominant hand? That's your firm base, the pleximeter. Your dominant hand gives that snappy tap. That's your plexor. And listen, the action is all in the wrist. Think about flicking a bug off a wall. It's that exact same quick, light motion. Now, while indirect percussion is what you're going to use most of the time, it's good to know about direct percussion too. That's a much simpler tap that you can use for smaller, really specific areas, like checking a patient's sinuses. Okay, so you've got the technique down. Now comes the art form, listening. See, performing the percussion is really only half the battle. Interpreting the sounds you hear, that's where your clinical judgment and your expertise truly begin to shine.
This table right here, this is basically a Rosetta Stone for percussion sounds. Let's walk through it. Over a healthy lung, you're going to hear something called resonance. It's a deep, kind of hollow sound. Now compare that to the dull thud you'd hear over a solid organ like the liver. If you hear that same dullness over the lungs, that's a red flag. It could mean something like pneumonia. And that drum-like sound, timpani, totally normal over the stomach, but a major warning sign if you hear it over the chest.
So just to recap, there are 5 key sounds you really need to get to know. Think of them on a spectrum, from the most air-filled to the most solid. Hyperresonance, resonance, timpani, dullness, and flatness. Your job is to train your ear to tell the difference between these notes.
All right, let's talk about setting you up for success. We're going to go over the most common mistakes I see students make so you can build really good habits right from day one.
Remember our little mantra? Firm base, snappy tap. That means using just your wrist, not your whole arm. And make sure to lift those other fingers up. If you leave them on the skin, they can muffle the very sound you're trying to create. It's all about consistency, so just practice, practice, practice. And like with everything we do in nursing, it always comes back to the patient. Clean hands, clear communication, and a gentle touch, especially over any tender areas. Those things are absolutely non-negotiable. Your patient's comfort and their trust in you are everything.
So as we start to wrap this up, I want to leave you with a really powerful mindset shift. I think this can totally transform how you approach this skill.
I want you to remember this.
Every single time you percuss, you're basically having a conversation with your patient's body. You ask a question with your tap, and the body answers back with a sound. Your mission is simply to learn the language so you can hear the stories that your patient's bodies are trying to tell you.
Whew, we've covered a lot today, but the real learning happens at the bedside. So here's my challenge to you. The next time you're in a clinical setting, just take a moment and practice. Find that resonance over the lungs. Map out the dullness of the liver. I promise you, the more you listen, the more you'll start to hear. Thanks so much for joining me.